Hello everyone, Professor Franz here, and today we're going to talk about the banking system and the reserve requirement. One important function of the commercial banks is to receive depositors' money and use the money to make loan to borrowers. And therefore, the commercial banks will transfer savers' money to borrowers. When we have a fractional reserve banking system, that means for each deposit a bank takes, it is required for the bank to keep part of the money available on hand and available for withdrawal. And the definition for reserve requirement is this: the fraction of the checkable deposit the bank is required to keep on hand as reserves, either as currency or as deposit with the Federal Reserves. So the required reserves is equal to deposit times reserve requirement ratio. Here is example question. Suppose the bank has taken $20,000 deposit and the reserve requirement is 20%. What is the amount of required reserves? Here's the answer. We have the formula where required reserves is equal to deposit times reserve requirement ratio. So we have 20,000 times 20%, and that gives you $4,000 required reserves. Excess reserves are the extra reserves that banks are not required to hold. So that's the extra reserves. And therefore, excess reserves is equal to total reserves minus required reserves. Here is an example question. Suppose a money bank has an excess reserve of $10,000. Its checkable deposit are $120,000. If the reserve requirement is 20%, what is the total reserves? So here's a hint. Our total reserves is equal to excess reserves plus required reserves. So let's first calculate the required reserves. Required reserves is equal to $120,000 times 20%. That gives you $24,000. So our total reserves will be equal to required reserves 24,000 plus excess reserves that's given in the question 10,000. So our total reserves will be equal to $34,000. And the answer is B.